Today we're making dehydrated vegetables for stock or soup.
And normally I much prefer to have fresh vegetables, but there's 4 reasons why you may not have the fresh vegetables or would want to dehydrate them. And one reason is if you're growing your own vegetables. The vegetables have seasons and they produce a whole bunch all at one time, and you would like to preserve these until the next season. So dehydrating is a very good way to do that. Another reason would be if you want to save money and you want to buy the vegetables when they're cheapest, which is when they're in season, so you can buy a bunch and then dehydrate it. And another reason would just be to have an emergency supply of food on hand, which is probably a good idea. I like to have this as well for convenience because sometimes I'm just too tired to cook, but I still want to have a nutritious meal, and I can just open a can of soup or a broth and just grab a handful of this dehydrated vegetables, throw it in the pot, and then also with the fermented vegetables that I've previously made, and maybe a hot dog or something simple, and I've got a nice nutritious meal. And so I've used the recipe in Nourishing Traditions for Sally Fallon. This is the most fantastic cookbook. If somebody said you can only take one cookbook with you, this would be the one I would take. In fact, I actually did that. We went to Australia for 3 months, and I put this in my suitcase. It's quite heavy, but I took it with me. I love this book so much. So I'm using Sally's recipe, which is 1333. We have 1 bunch of parsley, 3 carrots, 3 onions, and 3 stalks of celery. My onions were quite small, so these are 3 onions. This is what 1 onion looks like on one of the trays. This is what 2 onions looks like. And because my onions were small, I supplemented with some leeks. I did about 2 inches of the leeks. Now when you cut these, the carrots, you should probably cut about 1/4 inch rounds and then cut them in 4ths. And these celery, probably 1/4 inch. And these are, you can kind of see how I cut these. Now, when I first got my dehydrator, I thought I would just cut them to the size I normally do. I kind of minced them up, put them on the trays, dehydrated them, and boy did they shrink. They shrunk so much that when I took them out, I basically had vegetable sand. So I'm error on the side of being larger now. And they're just going to take different times to dry. These are going to dry faster, and to tell it when they're dry, they're going to be like basil or oregano. They're going to be crispy, and the carrots will be crispy as well, or brittle. And the celery and onions will be kind of leathery. So I'm going to put these in the dehydrator, and I will see you when they're done. Honey, who shrunk the vegetables? Where did they go? Well, actually, I know where some of the parsley went. I forgot to turn the dehydrator off before I opened the door, and the parsley is very lightweight, and some of it blew out onto the floor. And speaking of parsley, these are the 2 batches. This is 1 bunch of parsley, and this is the 3 carrots, the 3 stalks of celery, 2 inches of leeks, 2 small onions, and the 1 small onion. Now in the early part of the video I told you to dehydrate these on the raw setting, but then I started thinking about what we're going to do with the vegetables. We're going to put them in boiling water, so the enzymes are going to be destroyed anyway, so we really should be dehydrating these at 125 degrees at the vegetable setting to get it done quickly. I mean, it doesn't matter, they're going to be fine dehydrated at this temperature, but if you do it at the recommended temperature of 125 degrees, you can do a batch in a day, and then at night you can put another batch in overnight. So right now I'm going to put these in a jar for you. It's amazing, all those vegetables fit in this jar. You can see the layers right now. So we don't want layers because this is supposed to be a mix. So I'm going to gently roll it around, and I see this isn't going to work for well. Alright, so in this case I guess I'm going to have to put it in a bowl. I want to sit here shaking this. Or I could probably continue doing this, but I think I'll just put it in a bowl and mix it up and put it back in here. But over time you're going to find that the parsley ends up on the bottom because it's just little pieces of it. So I tend to want to put these on their lid like this so that the parsley goes to the bottom, in this case would be the top, and then just gently roll it around to kind of keep it mixed, and then when you take a handful out to put it in your soup, you'll get some of everything. So this is how you make dehydrated vegetables for stock or soup.